He was the heartbeat behind the melodies that defined an era, the quiet architect of songs that made the world dance. Yet he never chased fame or spotlight. Hidden away in dimly lit studios while the crowd cheered somewhere far beyond, he built symphonies out of emotion, shaping sounds that carried both joy and heartbreak in equal measure. At 78, after decades of silence, he finally decided to tell his story. Not the glittering tale of gold records and flashing lights, but the fragile human truth of love that crumbled, dreams that burned too bright, and the cost of pouring your soul into music until nothing is left. Born in a modest Stockholm neighborhood in 1946, he grew up in a family that found comfort in music, not ambition. His father was an engineer who worked long hours, but his grandfather, a self-taught musician, handed him an accordion at the age of 6, unknowingly changing the course of his grandson's life. That instrument became his first language, one that spoke of wonder and longing. While other children chased fame and fortune, he chased sound itself, fascinated by the way notes could tell stories when words could not. By ear, he taught himself piano, playing melodies after a single listen. At 10, he entertained family gatherings not for applause, but because he could feel the pulse of something bigger, something sacred in every chord. As a teenager, he joined a local rock band and the transformation was immediate. Their song Sketchy Heartfelt climbed the charts, earning them the nickname the Swedish Beatles. But even then he wasn't content being just a performer. He wanted to understand the bones of music, the architecture of sound, the emotion inside arrangement, the business behind the art. Then, one night in 1966, at a friend's party, fate stepped in. He met a folk singer with an infectious laugh and a mind full of poetry. They jammed until dawn, and in those hours, a partnership was born, one built on rhythm, wit, and shared dreams. What started as friendship grew into a creative and romantic bond, and by the early 70s, they were joined by two extraordinary vocalists, one a soulful alto, the other a radiant star already loved by the nation. Together, they became something rare, a fusion of minds, hearts, and harmonies that transcended borders. Their first attempt at the European Song Contest failed, but a year later, everything changed. In 1974, with shimmering costumes, boundless confidence, and a song that would echo through generations, Glittering Anthem won the competition and catapulted them into global stardom. They shortened their name into an acronym and became an unstoppable phenomenon. He became the sonic craftsman of the group, treating every song like a sculpture, chiseling perfection from imperfection. He spent endless nights layering vocals, experimenting with synths long before they became mainstream, chasing not what was trendy, but what would last. His arrangements carried sunlight and shadow, melancholy wrapped in melody. The world heard happiness. He was writing confession. Their songs weren't just hits. They were coded diaries of love, loss, and longing. The 70s swept them into a storm of flashing cameras, sold-out arenas and awards. But behind the smiles, the pressure grew. Fame magnified every crack. In 1979, the first couple within the band quietly divorced. Their pain leaked into the music. Recording sessions turned tense, lyrics heavier, harmonies tinged with sorrow. 2 years later, his own relationship began to fall apart. What began as perfect harmony became discord. His obsession with perfection, his endless hours in the studio, his emotional distance, all took their toll. When he confessed he had fallen for someone else, the dream shattered. Yet even as their love unraveled, they kept writing. Their final album in 1981 was polished and pristine on the surface, but every lyric bled truth. Songs about faded love, missed chances, and quiet goodbyes weren't fiction. They were their lives captured in sound. By 1982, there was no grand farewell, no dramatic split. They simply stopped. The last single faded and silence followed. The world was left with questions. Why walk away at their peak? Was it greed, ego, exhaustion? For decades, they never explained. Fans imagined rivalries and secrets, but the truth was quieter, sadder, and far more human. In late 2024, he finally broke that silence. In an unfiltered interview, he said softly, "We were tired. Our hearts were breaking. The music wasn't enough anymore. It wasn't betrayal that ended them. It was emotional survival. They stopped not out of failure, but to preserve what remained of their souls." A few months later, he spoke again, describing their final years as a slow fade, not a sudden collapse. The spark was gone, he admitted. The studio felt like work, not joy. His honesty struck a chord with millions who had grown up with their music. It confirmed what listeners had always felt. The ache within the melodies wasn't imagined. It was lived. There was no anger in his voice, only acceptance. The group's silence was never a tragedy. It was a closing chapter, a necessary ending. For fans, his confession brought closure, turning mystery into understanding. Yet the story didn't end in loss. After the band's quiet disappearance, one member's life took an unexpected path. In 1992, she married into royalty, stepping away from music's chaos and into a world of castles and crowns. The fairy tale, however, turned tragic when her daughter died in a car accident at 30, leaving her shattered. In her grief, it was he who reached out, not as a lover or collaborator, but as a friend who understood the language of pain. Their shared past became a bridge of comfort. It wasn't about rekindling the old days, but about finding solace in shared silence. Then, astonishingly, in 2018, something unimaginable happened. The band reunited. Not for fame, not for money, but for legacy. They returned to the studio, older, wiser, gentler, and recorded 2 new songs. It reignited a flame that had never truly died. By 2021, they completed a full album, each track a reflection of time, loss, and gratitude. But their greatest innovation wasn't musical. It was technological. In 2022, they launched Digital Marvel, a groundbreaking virtual concert where holographic versions of their younger selves performed to live audiences in a custom-built London arena. Over 1 million fans came to witness Nostalgia Reborn, where technology and memory danced as one. They even turned down a billion-dollar global tour, choosing instead to let the music, and not nostalgia, speak for itself. The message was clear. Art, not fame, was always their true north. Now at 78, he speaks without hiding behind melodies. Music was my shield, he admits. I wrote my heart into songs, but didn't always share it with the people who mattered. It's a confession that reframes everything we thought we knew about him and his group. Their story was never one of perfect harmony, but of beautiful imperfection, of people trying to hold on to love while the world demanded art. Their songs endure because they carry truth, not polish. They remind us that behind every perfect chorus is a human heartbeat, uncertain and yearning. As he reflects on his life, he doesn't romanticize it. He calls it what it was, a journey of wonder, mistakes, and music that became a lifeline. For decades, he let the melodies speak for him. Now his words reveal the man behind the myth, fragile, reflective, and grateful. The music that once masked pain has become a vessel of peace. Listening to their songs today, you can still hear it, the shimmer of joy laced with sorrow, the echo of love that once was, and the enduring truth that art born from pain is the kind that lasts forever. And as he finally steps out from behind the curtain, there's no bitterness, no regret, just gratitude that he got to live inside the magic, even for a while. Because in the end, his greatest creation wasn't a hit record or a global phenomenon. It was the reminder that the most powerful music doesn't come from fame or perfection, but from the quiet courage to feel, to fail, and to begin again.